what in the hell happened to this road? Man, it is. Is there anywhere that doesn't suck on it? It's a little better, not much. There must be some truck traffic that affected this part of the road, but it didn't mess with the rest of the road. I don't understand. These weren't here, or they weren't nearly as bad the last time I was on this road, which wasn't long ago. Anyway, we're in Kremmling, Colorado. It is about 1:30, a little before 1:30. Typically, I would be turning right and heading up through Jackson County to Ravagers Pass, but because today is probably going to be our last really amazingly beautiful fall day, and because it really doesn't matter too much, well, yeah, it's obviously going to be a longer drive. That how much longer, I don't know, but I'll stop in Kremmling and gas up, so we're good there. So as we were swinging around that curve, we swung around, and I failed to mention to you, oh yeah, I was going to do that on the last video that I shot. It's a cliffhanger. I've made a cliffhanger. I'm looking out to my left at Owl Mountain. It's beautiful. The aspens are looking just really gorgeous on it. We're swinging around to what is the northwestern edge of Rocky Mountain National Park right now. Those mountains have got some serious snow on them. They're really, yeah. They aren't playing around. I did film this last week, I'm pretty sure, but the change has been so dramatic. No, it would have been. No, I didn't film this last week. I drove this last week. If I filmed this, it would have been 2 weeks ago. Yeah. But I drove my Jeep last week because this car wasn't working. And I realized that I probably better get it in gear if I want to catch this road. Yeah, it's beautiful up here today. The deal is that a cold front has moved through. We're going to get high wind and cold temperatures. I've been filming all day, and some areas the leaves are gone. Most areas it still looks really good, but if I don't do it today, I won't get it done. And you can see there are some trees that have no leaves left. So it's, yeah, winter's just coming fast, at least at this point in time. It appears to be. Now it can warm up for another month and, give us what we would call an Indian summer. Not sure why they call it that, but that's what they call it. I get the feeling that a century ago, there were a lot more people up here than there are today. You know, there are a lot of signs of habitation here that. And by the way, I think we're getting snow. Yeah, that is snow that's falling. October 3rd. Maybe the you and Muckety Muck who thinks that the planet is boiling needs to watch my video so he can get a good, sleep easy tonight. Mr. Misled or misleading you an idiot who believes the world is boiling. Because the snow is here, cooling the world off, just like it does every year. I'm ready, getting some sunshine. I think right now we are in Route National Forest. I believe it becomes the Arapaho National Forest up here in a couple of miles. Seems like there's a boundary here. And it's the state forest north of us. And then when it gets into Wyoming, it turns into Medicine Bow Forest. For what that's worth. This is really a beautiful, beautiful drive. I'm glad I came up here. And I'll actually get to catch Gore Pass. Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to go crazy, I could actually go down on the trough road, but I think I want to catch Gore Pass. I am typically on this road going this direction at about 8:30 or 9 in the morning. Yeah, 8-ish. Yeah, 8-ish, 8:30 probably, even closer. And it's an extremely unpopulated road at that time. But right now, we are at about 1:30, so we're just after noon. And it's a pretty busy road at this particular time of day. Now, it could also be because People are out looking at the fall leaves. And it could also be that people are hunting. But I got somebody on my butt. It looks like 100 of me. I think the people ahead of me could be looking at leaves, and the person behind me could be hunting. But he's in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. But I am making sure that I'm going, not slowing things down too bad for him. Although if I can get to a spot, that would have been a good spot. That would have been a good spot. If I get to a good spot, I'll pull over and let the guy go around me. I'm not interested in blocking his access. I'm just not in a hurry. Well, I'll do it here. Just go ahead and get over. Get around me. Doing this. Well played, sir. I prefer to let his good times roll. I believe we're at the summit of Willow Creek Pass. I think it's like 84,000 feet. Yeah, 84,000 miles. No, 9,683 feet. Wow, I was off by 1,000 feet. How did I do that? Really? I mean, that makes no sense. Oh well, that's where my mind was. 83,000 feet. That's a hell of a pass. And actually, I know better, because I know that Rand is 8,000, right around 8,000 feet in elevation. So if that would have been 8,300 feet or 80 whatever, we really hadn't gone up much. We went up about 1,600 feet from Rand, from maybe 8,000 to 9,600. And that does definitely ring true. Some more snowy peaks everywhere here. as you can see, there was a pretty good fire up here a couple of years ago. Then after that, there were some pretty good landslides up here because of rainstorms washing dirt that was formerly held by vegetation. So this canyon, or this pass, got a 1-2 punch. It really got hit pretty hard. It's still quite beautiful. I mean, the burned areas are quite unique. I mean, they're really neat looking. And it's not like a sad thing. It's part of nature. It's what happens up here. What should happen up here, actually. The forest around up on Cameron Pass is a great example of a forest that really does need to burn. It's so overgrown and choked, you know. This forest will be, I mean, it's doing what a healthy forest would do. And just so you know, I'm not going below the speed limit. I'm not dragging anything at all. And the guy in front of me is way ahead of me, and the people that were ahead of me sped up. I apparently sped up. I just don't like to be pushed, you know. If I'm especially on a day like today, where it's really pretty, everything is, well, this is one of those rare days where we get to see the world change, you know, almost in front of our eyes. Like a truck that I passed. Well, where was that? Don't remember now. Kind of an unusual looking truck. That unusual tank bed. It looks like a combination. Tempted to say it's some sort of like vacuum type pump, like maybe a sewer pumping truck or something, or maybe a fuel truck. Oh, pretty. Just the grass. I mean, these little shrubs that change color. Pretty amazing. You know, they're pretty. It all works well together. I mean, the artist who made this beautiful thing knew what he was doing. God, yeah, right. You know that. probably about 50, 45 or 50 degrees still. Pretty chilly. Now, I do remember when, as a kid, we moved up to Craig in the 70s. And for the first several years, I don't really know. I can't put a number on it, but for several years, by the time Halloween got here, we had snow on the ground, and it was snowy pretty much the rest of the year. And in January and February, when it got really cold, I mean, got down into the 40 below zero type stuff, the roads became atrocious. They just became huge ice chunks. I mean, it's hard to even describe how they get, but they get really bad. And I thought that was normal, but we actually warmed up. We were going through a cool period at that point. And then we warmed up and started getting much more pleasant falls for a while. And I suppose that idea would have worked good for the global warming crowd, but we started cooling off again too, which obviously, that's not going to work well for the global warming enthusiasts. They're going to be mad about that. But that's what it did. Oh, how pretty. So I'm wondering if we're not, because it was definitely colder. We've been getting cooler. Last year was a pretty hard winter, but it wasn't as hard as some of those 70s winters. And we might be going back into that pattern, but we're going to have some really hard winters. And I'm not looking forward to it. I need to adjust my attitude, because if we do get them, we're going to get them. We're going to get them. Unless I just want to move, I guess I could. But as bad as winter gets, I'm not yet of the age where I hate it. I do think that the older you get, though, the harder winter gets on people, because the older people get, the more likely they are to be amenable. To becoming snowbirds. This guy probably doesn't know, but he's passing a really nice, well, it used to be a really nice campground right now. I think he might. Yeah, this is the Denver Creek campground, the whole area. And I think that water on the side of the road is Denver Creek, having been rerouted. Denver Creek at this time of the year. When someone's going that slow, and I know that I can see far enough ahead to get around them, I will take advantage of that opportunity. I'm not going to let the double yellow rule the way that I get in traffic. If I get behind someone who's stupendously slow, and I know I can get around them, I will. But I do try to follow the idea, and I do try as much as I can to stick with just passing where, the passing lanes are. Like I say, if the conditions are safe, and typically I'm in an unusual situation where I'm behind somebody that's going extremely slow. If I can make it, then I'll do it. And I am not the only one. I don't think I know anyone who will ride behind a really slow vehicle when they know they can get around him on a spot marked double yellows like this. Getting pretty down here. Now, I'm pretty sure when the highway department made the passing lanes here, they understand that there's a speed for this road, and that the passing lane is going to represent people that are going roughly highway speed, a little bit slower, not a lot slower. And so that's how they set these passing lanes up. But if you get behind someone that's going 20 miles an hour in a 50, you can get around them a lot quicker than if he were doing like a 45 and a 50, or something more typical. Because it's really atypical to run into somebody going really, really slow. Those people were, for some reason, temporarily going really, really slow. I don't see them behind me now, so they might be doing it again. I would have preferred that they would pull over and just let me pass them. But not everybody thinks that way. A lot of people that should, it would be good if they would, pull over and allow people to pass. Don't do it. A complaint of mine, yes. That would be. It's beautiful down here. I'm loving it. This is one of the areas where there was a pretty bad landslide. And we passed the one where I said the campground was. That was another area that also had gotten some pretty bad landslides. And then there are several more smaller areas that the highway department hadn't fixed up here. Wow, that's pretty. The hillside to our right is gorgeous. It's red and orange. I don't think you got to see too much of it. It's a real shame, but you'll get a little bit of it here. You'll see a little spot. Maybe you'll get to see a little spot. I think, yeah, up here you'll see some of it. Really pretty in here. Now look at that. So you can see we're getting out of the more rugged mountainous stuff into civilization. It's a weird house. They built that, finished it this year. I don't like it. I don't like the visual of it. It's supposed to look like a barn, I think. Of course, I don't know. It looks a little better than it did earlier in the year. Maybe they're not done. The fact that they're building it right now shows that they've got some money. This is also kind of a high-end area here, as you can tell by if you saw the house that we just passed. Probably about a 10 or 12,000 square foot house. Take advantage of them when you can. Wow. This highway painting ended up in a bit of a disaster today. Running a little bit. It does look like they got a pretty good dumping of rain over on this side. Very pretty. Well, that yellow paint really is running. I'm assuming I have yellow paint on my car now. Oh yeah, that's some. Well, we got snow in all the mountains, so. Really pretty. The big mountains up on the horizon there are up around I-70. So they're we get up to on the horizon, they're probably the 14ers, some of the 14ers. They're pretty big mountains. Typically, when I'm on this road, I would turn left here, go into Granby. But we're going to go to Hot Sulphur Springs, and we're going to go to Kremmling. And I think this particular video will go all the way to Kremmling. Let's see. So right now we are paralleling the Colorado River on the southern side of the Elkhead Mountains, headed towards Kremmling. We're going to go through Hot Sulphur Springs and through Byers Canyon, which is a really cool canyon, and through a little town called Parshall. Then we will eventually be in Kremmling, where I will stop this camera, get a full tank of gas, and then continue on over Gore Pass back into Craig. These trees around us are cottonwood trees for the most part, maybe some elm trees. And these trees are past their prime as far as color goes. And the wind is really whipping down this valley too. So we're getting a good dose of that. And yes, it in a way is kind of sad because it blows all the beautiful leaves off the trees. But it's also really important to have those leaves off the trees so when the snow does finally come, it doesn't destroy the trees, because when it snows on leaves, of course, if they're not holding on much, you know, I mean, that's a different story. But when it snows on trees with, you know, leaves, it breaks trees. It will just destroy them. We had a snowstorm like that in Craig about maybe 10 or 15 years ago. That it was either a late summer or early spring snowstorm. And it broke damn near every tree in town, lost branches on it. There was a huge pile of branches up north of town. One of the guys that apparently could profit off of having that wood went ahead and he let everyone dump the branches, you know, the branches that had broken and trees that were bad on his property. And I think he disposed of them or whatever, sold them for firewood or whatever he did. Oh yeah, nice and pretty. This little town is Hot Sulphur Springs. And it's named for Hot Sulphur Springs, which I apparently, on the other side of town, there's the resort kind of stuff going on with them. Apparently, the sign said they're first in the winter carnivals. I don't know what that means, but they have the best ones, or they do them the first before anyone else. Or... It's a nice little town. I like, all jokes aside about that sign. I like this little town. It is a cool little mountain town. Kind of nestled up against the mountains to the south, the river to the north. And this really nice canyon right here. So that house down there with the light, like the mint green roof, is the resort. I know nothing about it. I'm not a hot springs enthusiast. I mean, if I had hot springs, that I didn't have to go. If I knew of like hot springs that were really nice to go into and soak, I guess I'd try it. As long as I didn't have to do it around other people. And not that I'm embarrassed or shy. It's just I'd just rather, if I'm going to do that. I don't see it as much of a social activity as maybe someone else might. So this is Byers Canyon. The Colorado River is now on our right side down in that canyon in the bottom of it. And so is the train track. It's down in the bottom of that canyon. You might be able to catch a couple glimpses of it. I can't really get too far off the road to show you. I think you've seen the rocks that are on the side of the road. This canyon sheds rocks all the time. I do not know if people have been hurt, injured, killed by rocks coming off of this canyon, but I wouldn't be surprised if people haven't been hit anyway, if their cars have been hit by the rocks coming off of this canyon. I'd like to get out and look at, the cliffside, but I see so many rocks down here at the bottom that I'm not interested in. I can find some other place. Damn. Person? Apparently they're interested in trying to cause a wreck. Wow. It's a pretty steep area for the train and for the roadway. Now the train track has got this kind of cool system. They've got telephone poles probably about like 50 feet apart, maybe 40 feet apart, that have got wires strung from the bottom to the top, like parallel. I think the idea is that those wires make a bit of a fence, they're close together. So if a rock slide happens, it will break those wires or change the resistance of those wires or the capacitance or something, or the inductance, whatever it is, it will change an electrical characteristic and it will alert the dispatch that there's an issue in the canyon. And they have those in Glenwood Canyon also. They're pretty common. And really, they're kind of important. You don't really want to run into a rock slide in a canyon like that. Where you come around the corner and the track is covered up and you absolutely cannot stop. Over to the right is a gigantic gun range. It's really nice. The thing is huge. probably half a mile long. So our next town is Parshall. I think it's 2 L's, P-A-R-S-H-A-L-L. I think. Yeah, it isn't. Well, we're coming up on it right now. We actually bypass it. It's right over here. I've driven through it. It's a nice little place. It's, again, it's, you know, it's such a nice area out here that pretty much anywhere is kind of a nice place. Not a high dollar place. And that's okay. Like that person speeded up. Of course, 2 people passed that person, and there are 2 more people, 3 more vehicles on her ass right now. Well, and she decided to get with the program. She was doing less than 60 when that car in front of me passed. And when I passed. Well, that's funny. That car just now sped up when I finally had the ability to pass that car and prompted that car to speed up. And I really don't want to pass that car. I mean, I think I'm doing fine and speed up. They were going a little faster. Maybe they'll keep it up. I hope they keep it up. Good deal. Looks like they're keeping their speed up now. It's been an interesting drive today. I mean, I've been in almost every condition. Sunny, shady, cold, warm, snowy, foggy, rainy, dry, windy, a lot of wind. Oh yeah, it's ripping. And dark and bright. No. This wind is howling. They did forecast 55 to 65 mile an hour winds, like the gusts. I wouldn't be surprised if we're just not going through one of those right now. All right, Kremmling. Kremmling is in the horizon, on the horizon, under the horizon, the next town. They need to bring that one to my house. I could use it. So here we are in Kremmling. The only school I know of that has a Huey Cobra fighter helicopter in an attack position at the front of the school. I would hope it's so that kids know they better stay, you know, they better keep their nose clean, so to speak, or this school system will come down on them. Swoop down on them. They're really cool helicopters. I mentioned this before, but lived in a farm in Oklahoma, and a Huey Cobra fighter chopper like that wrecked on our property. I believe it killed the people that were in it, which is a sad thing, but I was a little kid, didn't dwell on that. When they went and cleaned everything up, I walked around and I'm looking, and I found a little lens, probably about 1.5 inches in diameter. And I think it was from the helmet's eyepiece, some of the optical siding. The guns on those helicopters are made so that when you put this helmet on, wherever you look through this little reticule on the helmet, the gun will point. Quite cool little system for a death machine. $4.19, huh? No. This earlier today in Laramie, I paid $4.09 for premium 91 octane premium. Oh.